We've been over how modern infrastructure would help ease the crush of record ridership, but there's no doubt the subway system needs to expand.
Someone asked me today, is it necessary to have the Second Avenue subway?
Fernando Ferrer is the MTA's vice chairman.
Sure, it's necessary. We have more people.
Phase 1, 3 new stations, cost roughly $4.5 billion. Since you probably don't have a reference point for mass transit megaproject budgeting,
it's crazy. It's far out of whack.
I give you the Regional Plan Association's Tom Wright.
It's basically 4 times more expensive for a mile of subway here in New York than it is in London.
That doesn't bode well.
But it's supposed to be more than a dozen new stations. It was supposed to connect Brooklyn and the Bronx. I don't know if we're going to see that for a long time.
Phil Plotz used to be the MTA's manager of planning, so he knows.
So it used to be you cut a big hole in the ground, and people had a few feet to walk. You fall in, you don't fall in, who knows what happens. But today we're really sensitive to people. We're really sensitive to the environment.
Gas lines, one false move and kaboom.
You have some wires and cables that go back to Thomas Edison's day.
This is not like going into Dubai or Abu Dhabi where you're building in the middle of a desert. When no one is there, you can move the sand anywhere.
Okay, but none of that explains why it's so much more expensive to build here than in London, where it's even older, or in Tokyo, where it's just as dense.
We also have high labor costs here. Our high labor costs because it's an expensive city, but also we have unions that aren't necessarily the most efficient way to build a new subway.
And we've been building stations that are nice and big, but more cavernous than they really need to be. On 2nd Avenue, the stations account for more than half the total budget.
There's no silver bullet on this.
So how can we make it more manageable?
A big piece of this is time. If a project takes extra time to build, the escalation is pretty enormous.
Well, we're looking at a number of things like design build.
Where a single contractor controls a more streamlined process.
But no matter what you do, you need a huge amount of money, so people are going to have to suck it up if they want better transit service.
When just this week, the MTA's managing director, Ronnie Hakem, was asked at a city council hearing,
would you consider doing a study to understand why New York City costs are 4 times higher than Boston?
She would only say,
I'll bring that back to the chair.
Okay.
If you're wondering, Phase 2 of the 2nd Avenue subway up to 125th Street is projected to cost $6 billion, and we have no idea how it'll be paid for. Next week, we go above ground, where you might have noticed things are just as congested.
This is a very unusual moment in history.
Until then, safe travels. I'm Alex Silverman, and this is The Breaking Point.